Okay, so we are on lesson number 280 of the workbook of Course in Miracles. What limits can I lay upon God's Son? And remember, we're operating under the daily contemplative reading, which is still the Christ, and God's Son is the Christ. So this lesson is interesting and has me laughing. I remember lesson number 280. What limits can I lay upon God's Son? It sort of brought two things to mind. One, of course, was Jesus's own sort of sojourn, his 40 days in the desert, of course, where he was constantly being tempted to succumb to exercising his power within the limitation of the world of space and time. That's what the devil kept on telling me. You can have all this, you can have all this, you can have all this, all you have to do is this. And Jesus obviously wasn't settling for anything within space and time, because all of space-time is a limitation placed on the God's Son, placed on the Christ. And so what's interesting about it, there was a guru in the United States. His name was Sri Chinmoy, and he was two of his devotees were famous guitarists, Mahavishnu, John McLaughlin, and Devadeep Carlos Santana were initiates and devotees of Sri Chinmoy, who used to be back east on Long Island and then moved out to San Francisco. And if you investigate Sri Chinmoy, one of the things that he was fond of doing and became popular for was being able to seemingly go beyond the limitations that are imposed upon people of his age. At one point in time, he took a year and he did something like 100,000 different paintings, like set Guinness's books of records. That was his thing. Lifted more weight than anybody at his age when he was older, and he was constantly trying to prove the limitless within the world of limitation. And it's a funny thing, because that's not the type of limitlessness and freedom that we're being offered by Jesus in these lessons. The freedom that we're being offered is the freedom from the idea that anything could limit God's Son, because God's Son was created eternal, infinite, and limitless, and anything to the contrary is merely an illusion and has nothing to do with his reality. Whom God created, limitless, is free. And that's absolutely true. I've had, I don't know how people feel about how I do these commentaries, these lessons, but I've had many lessons, and one of them was being in jail, being in prison, and having a conversation with a gentleman about A Course in Miracles and God, and speaking to him in a way. He was more Buddhistic. He was from Vietnam, and he was Buddhistic in his approach. So we had an interesting conversation for 2 days. And in the middle of the conversation, the second day, I realized that the conversation that I was having was very similar to the conversations I have whether I'm in jail or not. And the conversation that I was having was the most important conversation that I could ever have had, because it was the only one I was having in that moment of time. And so it must have been in that place, in that time, for exactly that purpose. And any sense of limitation was immediately removed. And the prison fell away, and in a ball of light, everything disappeared. To show me that there are no such thing as any bars within the world of space and time, including the bars of space and time that can place limits on the Son of God that I know that I am. And the utilization of that remembrance and the power in the recognition of the truth of who you are allows for the fact that within space and time, there isn't going to be anything that anyone asks you that you cannot say yes to comfortably, because it is the power of the Christ within you that we are all that goes ahead of you to perform the task. You can never be asked to do something that you're not capable of doing. And if you read the Bible and look at Jesus' life, his life is a demonstration of that, for sure. Not so much that he could paint 100,000 pictures in a year, but from the standpoint of view that his mind was open to eternity and the infinite supply of the abundance of the kingdom, and he could feed 5,000 people with a couple of loaves and fishes and not have to call a restaurant or take takeout. That's what I'm talking about. And even that is still only utilizing the limitless within the world of limitation in order to demonstrate that there's a power greater than the power in the world, in order for us to become, in a sense, aware of who we are and become willing to trust that power in us. And that's what the last couple of lessons that we've been doing, we're talking about. Learning the truth of who we are and being able to utilize that within the world of space and time to fulfill our function. And the experience that you'll have of who you are in reality will show you the absurdity of ever thinking that anyone could create a condition that could change your reality. Certainly, as it says here, I can invent imprisonment for him, but only in illusions, not in truth. No thought of God has left its Father's mind. No thought of God is limited at all. No thought of God but is forever pure. Can I lay limits on God's Son, whose Father willed that he be limitless and like himself in freedom and love? Come on, you start to be able to laugh a little when Jesus asks these questions at the absurd nature of it, because you being God's Son, why would you want to put limits on yourself or on your brother? It would only be within a world of space and time, where the competition that's fostered by the ego would ever cause you the desire to prove or need to prove who you are based on validating the limitations of the world of space and time by doing something that's slightly out of the ordinary, yet still within the necessity to have it validated as having a reality. The Holy Spirit doesn't work that way. And we'll be reading about the Holy Spirit in the next lesson. When the Holy Spirit solves the problem, he shows you that the problem didn't exist and you never need a solution because you were beyond where the problem existed. And then the world seems to change to accommodate your new decision because you have projected the world. Today, let me give honor to your Son, for thus alone I find the way to you. Here we go. This is directly Jesus of Nazareth 2,000 years ago, 15, 16 years ago. Today let me give honor to your Son, for thus alone I find way to the Father, to you. The only way to the Father is through the Son. And the only way to find out that you're God's Son is through forgiving yourself for your illusions of thinking you're something other than that. And utilizing what it is you think you are in a way that can show you you're not that. And that's the Holy Spirit's job. We'll be reading more about that, as I said. So no one gets to the Father except through the Son here, because you are the Son. The Son knows the Father like the Father knows the Son. Jesus tried to talk about that. But the sheep know the voice of their shepherd. The sheep know the Master's voice. Father, I lay no limits on the Son you love, and you created limitless. the honor that I give him, the honor that I give to him is yours. And what is yours belongs to me as well. God only gives, and I receive and give as I have been given. And what more would God give to me but all the entire universe of love to share with him? And all I have to do is continue to be willing to give it as I have received it freely. Just laughing at the idea. I don't know. Many of you, and I understand the frustration, many of you who have had direct experiences of knowing who you are, in the realization of that self, in the realization of who you are as a soul, the awareness that that soul, that you as a soul, bears, leaves no place to wonder, to question the limitless, because there is only that. It is not a comparative state. So when you've had an experience of a singular, whole, perfect reality that's eternal, infinite, and abundant beyond any dream of either abundance or limitation in the world of space and time, when you have had that experience, the idea that it would be possible to limit that is ludicrous, because any limitation that we think we could suffer from only exists within an illusion, and it's the entirety of the illusion that is what goes out the window, and it simply ceases to seem to be when your mind and heart have a direct experience of who you are in reality beyond the world of space and time. That isn't really conceptual, but is whole and perfect and beyond anything that we thought we would make of ourselves here. So it's sort of laugh. Can I lay limits on the Son of God, whose Father willed that he be limitless, and like himself in freedom and in love? Come on, that's ridiculous. Not only that, when you discover that you are that Son, the idea that you would have wanted to is equally ridiculous. Now you can begin to see the absurdity of the tiny mad idea and how it has functioned, and why, now that you see it in operation, you would no longer want it to function, because it's you who you lay limitation on, and it's your brother who helps you prove the limitation by you making him in your own image. You're an image maker. So I have to laugh at this lesson. I'm anxious to find out what is in store for us when we contemplate, we read and contemplate about the Holy Spirit together. It's been a pleasure to spend some of these intimate moments with you all, and I'm looking forward to this. Some other things that I've thought about that I may get into too. Right now I have I have a house guest, another on the way. So my time, everything is important that is given to us by God to do. And the trust that we have in the truth of who we are and the truth of who our brother is as the Christ allows that which is needful to be accomplished by the grace of God, rather than the toil and the sweat of the human body that thinks if it doesn't accomplish, it has no worth. So I'll see you guys soon.